So I know it's been a tumultuous week for the world. Um, and hold on, let me just make sure I have this all turned off. Okay. Um, and I don't know how it's been affecting you. You know, I've taught a couple of classes this week around how to care for yourself in this regard, how to let anger move through you, and how to let the trauma and emotional states that we're all feeling, us a lot less than other people, um, how do we let it move through us and not kind of lodge in our bones? And how do you allow for the emotional states to be catalysts for change within you, to be motivating for your capacity to not just, you know, black out your Instagram screen or go to a protest, but to really make a significant difference in the world, in the realm of racism or anything else that you feel passionate about. And in order to really cultivate action, we need to be in a really good place physically and emotionally. It's very difficult to move through toward action if you are feeling immobilized, if your fear or stress states drop you so down low on the polyvagal ladder that you are immobilized. So yesterday I taught a whole class about the vagus nerve, and so you can go back and watch that class in the library if you want. I'm not going to get too far into it again right now, but just basically, how do we cultivate the capacity to stay in a healthy sympathetic state where we're not overstressed and we're not immobilized? And our yoga practice is this beautiful gift for cultivating that within us. Any movement, whether it's dancing or walking or riding your bike or, you know, jumping in a lake or being in your yoga practice, anything that you do that moves your body will help you to move these states through you. So I want to just read you a poem. This is by Rilke. I don't know how many of you know Rilke's work, but this is one of my favorite of his. It kind of reminds me of Rumi's Guest House poem, if you've heard of that one. So this is called Let the Darkness Be a Bell Tower. Quiet friend who has come so far, feel how your breathing makes more space around you. Let this darkness be a bell tower, and you the bell. As you ring, what batters you becomes your strength. Move back and forth into the change. What is it like, such intensity of pain? If the drink is bitter, turn yourself to wine. In this uncontainable night, be the mystery at the crossroads of your senses, the meaning discovered there. And if the world has ceased to hear you, say to the silent earth, I flow. To the rushing water, speak, I am. So let's go ahead and close our eyes and just know that all possibility of change is available, both in your own mind and body, as well as in the world. So how can your practice today help you cultivate the strength, the resiliency, the capacity to feel hope and capacity to make a difference? That begins with just feeling like you have capacity within your own being. So let's hone our intentions down for our practice to be quite personal. So what is it that you need today? How can your practice support you so that you are in this state of resiliency and hopefulness? What can your practice bring you? So set a clear intention. And once you have that, just sit quietly for a moment and breathe. Come into what the breath feels like in your body. Can you make more space within you? Can you make more space around you? Is there a softness coming over through your skull, your eyes, your jaw? And the places that you harbor tension consciously or unconsciously, can you begin to let them go? Is there a way for you to drop your shoulders and surrender just a bit? Imagine some water moving over you or wind, something that's moving, that's flowing, that can help you transmute some of the stuck energy within you that you might be holding. And drop all the way down into the pelvis. See if you can let the breath become that bottomless breath. Can your diaphragm feel like the bottom can drop out a little bit? So there's a deep surrender and release downward and outward. Do you have a sense of being able to fill that space with your breath? All right, let's begin to slowly open your eyes, and let's bring ourselves onto our back. Okay. All right, so use your mat as this homecoming. You know, this is a cradle for you to rest your body in and renew yourself. So as you come onto your mat, have that symbolic gesture of, this is my time for caring for me. I can suspend all of my thought processes, the things I need to do today, the people I'm concerned for, can kind of just put them right over there just for a moment and allow yourself to come into the body. See, the worries are not going to really go over there, but see if you can drop them down a little bit so you can heighten your ability to receive flow in the body. So start with the breath first. Feel the flow of breath first in the body. And if you need to wake up, stretch your arms overhead and let's hook our thumbs and really just lengthen the sides of us. We're lengthen the right side a little bit longer, lengthen the left side, and just keep going back and forth, kind of opening up the windows and the sides of your body, kind of throwing off the curtains, letting the sun in. And then bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a hug, circling, swaying, whatever feels good. So sometimes rocking is a very soothing thing for the nervous system. If you are under a little bit more stress, I mean, who's not under a little bit more stress than usual? We're all under a little bit more stress than usual. So just take every little bit you can to help yourself along the way. So let's all try rocking. Just rock back and forth a little bit. If you have a lot of energy, you can even try rocking top to bottom. Just kind of rolling. I don't really have the space to do this very well, so I'm not going to do much of that rocking. So just finding some ease and continue it, even beyond where you think, like, aren't we done with this yet? Just continue that sense of rocking. And you don't have to pull your knees so high in. If hip flexion is not good for you, you can hold the knees with long, straight arms. All right, and then put your feet down onto the ground. Rest your arms straight out to the side. And let's get a sense of expansion through your chest. Open up through your heart. Let the breath travel to your palms. And back in again. And then stretch your legs straight and let them be wide. So take up a lot of space on the ground. And even if you don't feel real safe in your body or in your mind, if the world isn't feeling safe to you right now, give the cue of safety in your body by stretching your body out. When your limbs are away from you in this way and you're resting on the floor, this is a symbol of I'm safe and I'm at ease. So even if you have to fake it till you make it a little bit, let's just let yourself drop. And then feel a little bit of that navel radiation. See if you can imagine that the powerhouse center of your body is in your core somewhere, and you're radiating the energy out from that spot to your limbs, to your arms, to your legs, to your crown, and to your tail. And then release that, coming back in home to center. Do this a few times. If you're itching to move, we will get there, I promise. But just see if you can feel your energy body move before your physical body. All right, and then let's go ahead and bring the knees in. This time, pick up your head, give a little squeeze, tuck in, and then activate your starfish now. So big open breath, stretch into your limbs, squeeze all your muscles. So stay there, hold your breath for just a sec, squeeze everything you have. And then as you exhale, draw the knees in, squeeze everything you have here. One more time, no squeezing unless you want to squeeze. Open things up, big, broad breath. Exhale, close things up. Put your feet down onto the ground. Feet are wide on the mat. And let's just windshield wiper our knees left and right. Okay, so just finding that sense of opening up the rims of the body. You can stretch your arm overhead, finding that full side length on either side. A little bit of twisting in the back, warming up the spine in its own way. And then next time your knees go over to the either side, roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so let's find some cat-cows here. Arching the back and rounding the spine, taking your time, noticing what feels good in the body, what doesn't feel good in the body. And you can start moving around any kind of movement that you want. Cat-cow is a wonderful way to warm up the spine and hydrate all the little nooks and crannies, get some spine flossing where you're stretching your spine itself a little bit. But you don't have to stay in that plane. You can do some circles with your pelvis. You can turn and look out over your sides, move your head around. Just get some movement in the body. So in order to discharge stress, sometimes working really hard, getting your heart rate way high, like sprinting, can feel really good. But for those of us who can't really sprint very well, smaller, quieter movements are just as effective. The key here is to make sure your breath is moving with your body. No matter what your body's doing, the breath is guiding you there. Let your exhales, the long, steady exhales, be about discharging. Inhale, come up onto your shins, arms to the sky. Exhale, long and smooth. So the exhales are a little longer than your inhales. This is one of the keys for getting the vagus nerve to be toned. Inhale up. Exhale, down. Your heart rate variability, which is impacted by your vagus nerve, when you stretch the exhales out, you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, and most of the fibers of the vagus nerve are parasympathetic fibers. So we want to stimulate them. These are the ones that give us the cues that we are safe and social and able to mobilize in healthy ways. So let's stretch back to child's pose. Relax your forehead toward the floor. Walk the hands over to the left side of the mat and open the right rim of the body again. Feel some weight drop down into the pelvis. Relax your forehead. Let the base of the skull surrender and soften. Deep breath in. Deep breath away. And let's walk over to the other side. Inch your hands to the right. Feel some weight come down into the hips again. Just notice how you feel. Is the hip flexion good? Do you need to be a little higher? See what it feels like to open the rim of the body, feeling the breath come in there. Relax the base of your skull. And then let's come back onto all fours. Come up onto your hands and your knees. And let's do a twist here. Inhale, right arm lifting to the sky. Exhale and slide that shoulder down. Gaze toward the floor so the eyes are soft and restful. The base of the skull is melting. The shoulders drop down. And then inhale, reach the arm to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground. Change sides. Lift that arm up. Exhale and slide the arm through. Find the breath. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Feel the space between the shoulder blades broaden. All right, and then inhale and lift that arm all the way back up to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground. Curl the toes under. Let's find our way to dog pose. Take your time here. So pedal out your feet, drop a heel, sway your hips, bend a knee. Just find some movement. You can wiggle around your feet, wake up your feet, get up onto the tops of your toes, the balls of your toes. Just see what kind of movement your feet need. And then stretch through your spine. Lift the heart up toward the pelvis. Feel the extension. Root into the index finger mounds. Find the softness through your skull. Melt and release any tension you can feel through your face. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, relax. Try that a few times. Long, steady inhale, even longer exhale. Let the winds move through you. Make more space within you and around you. All right, and then walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Feet hip width apart, melt. You can wobble around here if you want to sway your hips or rock, move your shoulders. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. All right, let's rise up, push off your feet, coming to the sky, reaching the arms. If you're dizzy, just pause. You can always take that transition slower. You don't have to lift your arms to the sky. You can come up nice and slow if you tend to get dizzy. You can always, and remember, if you ever get dizzy, there's lots of things you can do. You can cross, if you cross your thighs, if you squeeze your hands, if you tuck your chin, all these things will bring your blood pressure up and help with that orthostatic hypotension if you get dizzy when you lift up to the sky. Inhale, reach the arms, open your chest, cactus, open your arms, find some breath across your heart. Exhale and round and let's just have some movement here. Take your feet a little wider than your hips, and we're just going to swing. It's a great way to warm up the spine. Just find some breath here. And you can go fast, you can go slow, whatever kind of movement feels really good in your body. Let the hips go with. So lift up your heel. This always reminds me of a golf swing. I don't play golf, so I have no idea if this is like a golf swing in your legs, but just find that sense that the whole body gets to move in the same direction. There's no counter movement. All right, and then relax. Inhale, shrug your shoulders. Exhale, big shoulder circles. So roll them around, feel your shoulder blades glide on the back. And we're going to turn this into some big arm movements too. So arms up and around. And then go ahead and fold forward. Bend in half. Let your spine grow. Bobble around the head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Spine gets longer again. Thighs back. Exhale and melt toward the floor. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Thigh bones back. Shin bones slightly forward. Exhale and melt back down. Let's step our left foot back. Our right foot's going to come forward on the mat. Come to a lunge here. Blocks are nice if you have them. Let's start moving and waking up the legs a little bit more. Squaring hips, bowing in, finding movement. You keep breathing. Doesn't matter where you breathe, just keep breathing. Remember, the way that we get to move stress through our bodies in yoga is with our breath. It's our primary way that we get to release. So let the fresh, new energy come on the inhale and really focus on lengthening your exhales and making sure they're complete, that you don't gap the exhale and forget to let all of it go. Okay. Let's come into a lunge, find your spine, come up and bring your hands on your knee for a moment. Stretch through the back leg, lift the heart. See if you can make a connection like you're stretching your sternum and your hip away from each other. Feel the openness through your spine. And then when you're ready, we're going to add arms to this. So maybe you want the arms up, maybe you want them out. So it doesn't matter where you go, just be where you are. Find the breath. Notice what your spine is feeling like. Are you supported? Can you have openness without a sense of too extreme, where you're pushing the ribs forward? And exhale and release the hands down to the ground. Back foot comes forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Lengthen the spine again. Exhale and melt and fold toward the floor. For a moment here, take your feet a little wider, maybe hip width, maybe wider. Bend your knees as much as you want to. Interlace your fingers at the base of your skull and pull your chin toward your chest just a little bit. Let the full back body have a stretch here. And then unline the head, hands back onto the floor or blocks. And let's take our our right foot back. Our left foot is now forward, coming into a lunge. Find your place where you want your feet to be. Grab blocks if you have them. Let's start moving. Square hips, tuck the chin, get that back line to open again. Moving and flowing. Long, steady exhales. And then next time we come to a lunge, let's hang out there in the lunge. Find your way, bring your hands onto your thigh, extend through the back leg, open your chest, find your breath. Just see what it feels like to lengthen your femur bone and your heart away from each other. And as you're ready, reach the arms anywhere that's safe for your shoulders, your body, your back. Make sure that your core is engaged so you're not overextending the spine. Find the breath here, deep inhales, deep exhales. All right, great. And then release the hands. Bring your back knee onto the floor. Come up onto all fours again. Let's have a bit of a cat-cow. And then as you're ready, we're going to step those legs back and come into a plank. And you can always, depending on your practice, if your stress levels are high, sometimes a vigorous practice feels really good. Sometimes it's a little too much. So you get to dole out your practice, however is right for you today. That do you need to work hard to kind of blow off steam and get your stress hormones down? Or are you already in kind of an adrenal fatigue state where you need to care for yourself a little bit more? Deep inhales, steady exhales. And let's put the knees down. Slowly lower yourself to the floor. Take a deep breath. Open your chest. Exhale and come back down. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, rise up. Neck is long. Full inhales. Exhale and release. Back down. Come up onto all fours. Swivel around your body however feels best to you. And then find your way to dog pose again. Lengthen through the spine. Let's bring our right foot forward and turn to the long edge of your mat. Okay, so we're going to have 2 feet wide on the floor. Open up your hips. See what it feels like to take the femur bones back, the shin bones slightly forward, and melt down a little bit. Find the breathing. And then come on up. Keep your feet wide. Turn your feet out. And come into a forward goddess pose. So we're going to lean down, our torso is facing the floor, open up the inner thighs, spread out your feet, find the sense of hugging back from your knees to your outer hips. So we're starting to open the legs up a little bit more. Feel free to rock left and right. And you may not be this deep, perhaps you're up here, and this is a great place to be. Just kind of going back and forth, whatever feels good. All right, and then we're going to come on up to stand. Okay, let's turn your right foot out to the right, find your breath, and come into Virabhadrasana 2. Let's move through this. Come into your pose. Inhale, straighten your arms and legs. Exhales, long exhales. Let's hang out here to see what it feels like. Lift the heart, drop the shoulders, stretch into the fingers. Deep breaths in, Deep breaths away. Soften the back knee. Spread out the bones of the feet. Find your stability. If you can, close your eyes. Focus on the exhales. No matter what you're doing with your arms, no matter which way you're turning your head, no matter how deep or not deep into the pose you are, what can you do to relax and soften the exhales and let them out? Move the breath through you. Let's go ahead and straighten the leg. Find your way back to the center. We're just going to go to the other side, just warming up the hips on either side. So, depending on how your hips feel, your pose might be right here. You might not be going very deep, and that's okay. Even if your movements aren't super extreme, your breath can be really deep and move through you. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bend your knee. A couple times, moving through here. Let's hang out and stay. Just start to feel the invigoration, the work in the hips. Get that feeling, in your hips where it's so unique. Standing poses are the sensation that you get in your hip joints. So enjoy opening them in this way. Track your front knee over your heel or before it. Doesn't have to be, but just don't go past it. See what it feels like to feel the thigh bone of this back leg move back, a little inner spiral. Is there softness to be had? Is there breath? Can you feel that bottomless breath drop down again all the way to the pelvic floor? Can you release the shoulders? Steady exhales. And let's go ahead and come on up out of that. So hopefully your hips are a little warmer now. So we're going to turn back to the goddess style pose. Feet turns out. We're just going to come down and up a few times. So come down to squat. Inhale, arms up. You can do whatever you want with your arms. So really, whatever you want to do with your arms is just fine. Just warming up the legs a little bit, getting them ready for holding you in space. And now we're going to let ourselves hold. So your goddess pose might be right here where you're pretty high. Remember, you want to track your knees over your ankles, or actually not over your ankles, but in line with your middle toes. It's okay. If your knees need to come in, just let the feet follow. So make sure they're on the same plane no matter how deep into the posture you go. What is your breath doing now? So when you start to feel stress, can you let these shoulders relax? Soften the jaw. Let things move through you. Enjoy the work. This is you become the bell in the bell tower. It strengthens you. Let the breath be the air that you're trying to move all around you. All right, and then inhale and stand up straight. Turn your feet to the long edge. Relax your head down. Come into a softer variation, Pasrita. So you can have your hands on blocks if you want them higher. You can have your hands on the floor. Let your thighs rest for a moment. The thigh bones are moving back. Deep breaths in. Deep breaths away. Okay, come back up again. Okay, you can hold a block for this if you want. You don't have to. We're going to do some circles through goddess pose. So your feet are turned out like they were before, just on the same angle. And with a block or no, we're going to swing. So sometimes I like the block, sometimes I don't. So you can decide whether you just don't want the block or you do. But we're just going to go back and forth. Lean your weight into one leg, transfer that over, and push off. Find yielding in this. So can you give yourself to the earth? Can you cross over? Can you lift yourself off the earth? Arms don't have to go with. You don't have to have your arms be in this giant circle. They can just, be anywhere you want them to be. A couple more times. Your movements can be very small, just like this, and they can be very deep. Okay. All right, let's pause at the top and just notice how capable you are to feel the ground below you. You know that you have the capacity to yield. Let's go the other way. So yield, give yourself to the earth, cross over the earth and push off. Find some flow of your breath. Don't forget that you have capacity and big, strong muscles in your body. You have glutes to work with. You have quads, you have hamstrings. You have a lot of strong muscles that are helping you here, regardless of how high or how low you go. Let's do one more big swoop across. And then let's meet at the top. Open into a standing starfish. You can turn your feet straight if you'd rather, whatever feels good. Open your breath up. Breathe to your limbs. Exhale back to your center. And then fold forward. Turn your feet forward if they haven't done that already. Relax your body. Soften your head. Hands can be on floor or blocks. Deep breath in and away. Let's turn to the long edge of your mat and find your way to dog pose here. Spread out through the hands, spread out through the feet, spread your ground, feel the ground below you. Give yourself over, so find that yield and push. Deep breath in, deep breath away. Relax the base of your skull, melt everything you have access to. Inhale, come forward into a plank. Maybe you put your knees down, maybe it's more of a cat-cow for you, you decide. Deep inhale, steady exhale. And let's put our knees down onto the ground. Slowly lower yourself to the floor. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, and melt back down. Put your hands underneath your forehead, curl your toes under, lift your legs up and spread them wide on the mat so your feet are on the edges of the mat. Take a deep breath in and lift both legs up. You can either turn your feet out or turn your feet down. What feels better for your sacrum? Breathe into the muscles all around your hips. Engage through your core to stabilize you. And then melt and relax. Bring your legs a little closer in. Pick up your feet and windshield wiper your knees left and right. Finding the breath here. Deep inhales, deep exhales. And then come up onto all fours. Swirl out your spine, any kind of movement that feels good. Make sure you're marrying your breath to your movements. Try not to go anywhere without the breath. Exhale, come back to child's pose. Inhale, up onto your shins. Exhale and fold forward. Let your breath be your guide. Inhale, arms back in front of you, dog pose. Exhale while you're here. Feel the deep melting. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, right leg brings forward. Come into a lunge. Inhale, rise up. Crescent lunge. Exhale, turn to the long edge of your mat, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, stand up straight. Now we do Parsvakonasana. So bend your elbow again, place your elbow on your knee, stretch your arm over your head. Fine, let's stay here for a moment. Find your breath. So even though we're not moving, we're still, can you still feel the breath moving through you? Extending through your spine. And inhale and come on up. Turn your feet back to the goddess. Exhale, melt in. Inhale, starfish your body. Exhale, Virabhadrasana 2 on the other side. Find your way here. Breathe deeply. What does it feel like to hold yourself steady but let the breath move through you? Straighten your leg. Take a deep breath. Bend again. Elbow on your knee. Stretch your arm overhead. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Feel the breath. Even though there's stillness in your body, let there be movement through your body, through the breath. Good. And then come back up. Turn your feet out again. Goddess pose. Inhale, stand up, moving through our swirly movements. So bend into the right knee, cross over. Inhale up. One more time. Let the breath do the moving. Go the other way. Let your breath move you. Come back into a goddess. Hang out here. Inhale, stand up. Exhale, turn to the front of your mat again. Left foot is now forward. Maybe it isn't. Maybe you're at your back of your mat if your left foot is forward, but put your left foot forward. Extend and lengthen. And then bring your hands down onto the ground. Back into dog pose. You go. Deep breaths here. Long spine. Steady inhales. Even more steady exhales. Keep the breath moving. Inhale, come forward into a plank. Slowly lower yourself down. You can put your knees down first. Back bend of your choice. What do you want to do? What feels good here? Exhale and melt back down. Come back up to dog pose. Take some time. So we're moving a little faster than I typically move. So you take your time for you. Inhale and exhale. We're going to find our way into pigeon pose. So take a deep breath. Let's lift the right leg up in the air. Exhale and bring that foot forward. Place your shin down onto the ground and then find your way. Perhaps you need to get some props. So if you need some support underneath you, we're going to have our right hip forward and our left leg back. Okay. If pigeon pose is not a good posture for you, then go ahead and instead take reverse pigeon pose. So you just flip over onto your back and take your right leg over your left and come into reverse pigeon pose. So whatever you're trying, whichever pose you're doing, let your hip be the epicenter of where you're stretching, but really the epicenter of where I want you to work in the pose is with the breath. So find your place, where you feel supported, comfortable, at your boundary and not past. And then eventually, if you're in pigeon pose, we're going to find our way down. Blocks, I think, are really helpful for this pose. When your forehead is supported, it's another cue to the nervous system that you are okay. So, it's not by accident that when we're stressed, we often put our head in our hands, right? So this is a very common reaction when you have stress. Let it be. This is wise. So let your head be supported by, blocks, pillows, whatever you got to help you be in this posture. Melt the spine. Elongate the spine. The most important thing you're working with here is your breath. Long, steady inhales. Long, steady exhales. Seek the places in your body where tension likes to creep in. How is the base of your skull? How are your shoulders? Can you feel the band of your diaphragm across the back? Rest and relax. Is your jaw soft? Are your eyes melting? Is your tongue loose in your mouth? Are the inner walls of your throat resting? All right, let's go ahead and come out of that posture. So if you want, you get choices here. If you want to come into dog pose and swing that leg up and open the hip flexors a little bit, by all means, you can do that. And if you want to just switch sides on the ground, by all means, you can do that. Maybe you're on your back. So whatever you're choosing to do, just make sure you have some support if you need it. Find the breath. Situate yourself before you, just come collapsing down onto the floor if you're moving in pigeon pose. First, find the length of the spine. Keep the hips square. Stretch your foot, this foot that's in the front. Stretch through the big toe and the inner heel so that you're not collapsing the inner ankle. When you're situated, lengthen the spine and come forward. If you have a block to rest or two blocks, whatever you need to rest your head on, that's great. And if you don't, that's okay too. Just be where you are. Sometimes if you don't block, you can bend your elbows and put your head in your hands. Lots of choices to support yourself. If you're in reverse pigeon pose, melt into the ground with your spine. No matter which way you're finding the maneuvering of getting into the right place for the stretch in your hips, make sure that you walk away from that stretch and feel the ripples through your body. Are you holding tension just generally, or maybe because you're kind of gripping against the posture? Where can you relax? Is your spine resting? Is your diaphragm resting? Are your shoulders soft? Can you melt through the base of the skull, all around the skull? Is your jaw free? Can you melt through your sinuses, your cheeks, your eyes, even your teeth? How's your breath now? Can you stretch through those exhales? All right, let's go ahead and climb back up. Let's find our way out of the pose. Maybe dog pose and bringing that leg up. Maybe not. You decide where you're going to go. And once you complete that, let's go ahead and get on the edge of the blanket if you want. You don't have to. I like this because it helps me balance my hips. So we're going to shift our feet off to the right. And our left sit bone is going to be on the edge of a blanket with our right sit bone kind of dropping down into the little pocket there. So if you don't have a blanket, you tend to be a little bit like this, which is not the end of the world. So don't worry if you don't have a prop. But if you have something, that might be helpful. So get comfortable with your legs, and we're going to find an open, wide twist here. So hand behind you to kickstand, support your spine, lift that arm in the air, and bring your hand to the outside of the knee. Palm out or palm in. The reason to do palm out is to help the shoulder externally rotate, but you can do that consciously with the hand down too. So you decide, just make sure that you're not rolling the shoulder and rounding the chest. Notice if you're pushing your body toward your left hip. See if you can sink down into the right sit bone. Feel that spine elongate right over the pelvis and find your twisting. Find the breath. Follow the breath with your twists. Turning your head, deepening the breath. And then come back to center. Let's inch over the other way. So our feet are going to come now over to the left. Your knees are in line with your hips, so you're not real wide with your knees. Drop down into that little pocket with your left sit bone. Find your breath. Use your hand behind you. Sometimes if you're on a high blanket, you need a block behind you to put your hand on so that you're at the same height as the blanket. So you decide what height you need to be. Lift the arm in the air, take a deep breath, bring your hand to the outside of the knee. Notice if you're pushing your body forward, if your rib cage wants to push out toward your thigh, see if you can drop the rib cage back, sink into that sit bone, lift the spine, and twist with your breath. Broad open collarbones. Deep inhales, deep exhales. And then let's go ahead and come back to center. Come up onto the edge of your blanket. Bring your knees to your chest for a minute. Round spine one more time, like we did earlier. You can hold the base of your skull if you want. You don't have to. Okay, and release the legs. We're going to come into a bit of a back bend, so you can choose to do this supported or not. Bridge pose. I feel like bridge pose should be an everyday pose, kind of like dog pose. When do you ever take a class and not do dog pose? I have an affinity for bridge pose, so I don't know if you do as well, but hopefully you do since we're doing it. So heels close in. And if you want to do this real actively, by all means, if you're feeling like your nervous system needs rest and restoration, then you get to do this with the block. So you can have the block on the lowest height or middle height underneath your sacrum and find your way into restfulness here. If you're doing the pose actively, then you might want to configure your arms a little bit more firmly into the ground so the arms press into the floor. You can always interlace your hands underneath you. Sometimes I don't recommend that because a lot of times when people grab for their hands, their shoulders roll and they internally rotate the shoulders. So unless you can keep the external rotation of the shoulders while interlacing your hands, I wouldn't recommend doing that. You get just as much, if not more, out of this pose if you just press your arms into the floor. Remember to be very gentle at the base of your skull and the back of your neck. Keep the neck loose so you don't want to push the neck into the floor. Lift the chest, find your breaths. No matter what you're doing actively or passively, find your breaths. What do you enjoy about this pose? What feels good? All right. You can go ahead and come on out of there. Lower yourself to the floor. Have your feet hip width apart. Bring your arms out to your sides. Just rest for a moment before we twist. Deep breath in. Deep breath away. Let's windshield wiper our knees a little bit. So dropping them left, dropping them right. Okay, so you have a choice here for the twist we're going to do. I'm going to cue the deeper one first. So knees drop left, and you can do a little hip scooch if you want, where you kind of move more onto your left hip than onto your sacrum. Drop the knees down. We're going to pick up the left foot, put it to the outside of the right knee. A block underneath either knee can be helpful if you need a little support. So this is the deeper twist, to have your foot to the outside of the thigh. And this gives a big stretch to the hip in a different way than a regular twist does. Or if you don't want to do that one, feet on the ground, scoot your hips over to the right, pick up your knees and drop them left. Knees stacked on top of each other. So you do you, and let yourself melt into this. Turn your head the opposite way if you can. Feel the breathing body. All right, and then inhale and lift the knees back up. Square hips, take a breath here before going to the other side. Just have a moment. And then as you're ready, scoot your hips over the other way. Either pick your knees up and drop them to the side like a classic twist that we often do. If you want something just a little bit different than that, you can take your right foot and cross it over the left knee. You can always support underneath you no matter what you're doing. So you decide which of the twists is best for your body. Unwind, lengthen the spine. The exhales are where we're moving. Find your way to the long exhales. Stay and hang out in them as long as possible. And then invite this precious new breath in. All right, inhale and lift the knees back up. Put your back on the floor. Pause here for a moment. Find that neutral spine one more time. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Okay, and then as you're ready, bring the knees into the chest. And let's either just come back into our rocking like we did in the beginning, or maybe you need a little bit deeper stretch and you'd rather take happy baby pose, and you can even rock in happy baby pose. So there's always ways to create a little bit of movement. There's always ways to create a little bit of stillness. So whatever's working for you. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. And then release the legs. If you have a wall nearby, I want you to come into leg up the wall pose. If you don't have a wall nearby, maybe you can come to your chair or your couch, and you can bring your legs up onto your chair or couch. So you decide where you want to be, whether you want your legs straight up a wall or whether you want your legs on a couch or something, a chair. Whatever you're doing, this is the beginning of our Shavasana. At any point, you can make a change in your stance, but I just want to spend a couple of minutes in a restorative pose before we melt into Shavasana. Restorative postures, they're so good for helping calm our nervous system. So if you are moving through some stress, which I'm sure you are, having the active practice, the breathing practice is wonderful. But adding some restorative postures, this is a very good reset for the nervous system. It's soothing to your nervous system. So if we're trying to get into that state of parasympathetic drive, the calm place where our vagus nerve tells us that we are safe and sound and social, it's poses like this that give us that cueing in the body. So let's imprint. Long, steady exhales, still stay with the breath. Melt the body. If you want to change positions and come into Shavasana on your back, now's a good time to make a change. If you're very content, then you just stay exactly where you are. Keep finding your way into surrender, letting the body melt. The face is soft and relaxed. There's ease here. There's ease. Exhales can give you that ease. Drop into the softness of your face. Soften your belly. Limbs are restful. So as you begin to become aware of your surroundings a little bit more, take a deep breath and let your body melt. Quiet friend who has come so far, feel how your breathing makes more space around you. Let this darkness be a bell tower and you the bell. As you ring, what batters you becomes your strength. Move back and forth into the change. What is it like, such intensity of pain? If the drink is bitter, turn yourself into wine. In this uncontainable night, be the mystery at the crossroads of your senses, the meaning discovered there. And if the world has ceased to hear you, say to the silent earth, I flow. To the rushing water, speak, I am. Let's begin to invite movement. Stretching, moving, breathing. Come onto your side as you're ready. Find your way up to a seated posture. And hopefully your practice has given you some renewal on some level. Let's just breathe out and breathe in and offer the grace of our practice outward. Whatever energy you've calmed or cultivated, let's share it. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.